Russia is expected to attack NATO countries in the near future. Moscow is expected to launch an attack from the Baltic states. It is not excluded that the first target will be Estonia. European countries must join the war against Russia with their forces, as it will be extremely difficult for Ukraine to hold the eastern flank of Europe. A veteran of the Russian-Ukrainian war, Major Reserve of the National Guard of Ukraine, Oleksiy Hetman, shared his opinion with Espreso TV. It is obvious that for many countries, the end of the war means Ukraine's capitulation and relief. But Putin will try to attack other European countries. It is strange that the Polish foreign minister speaks on behalf of all of Europe regarding sending troops to Ukraine. The British, the Baltic states and France are not opposed and are considering these issues. The Poles are not holding the eastern flank. We are doing it for all European countries, he stated. If Europe does not assist Ukraine in this war, it risks losing its own territories. Should Ukrainians fail to sustain the defense, Russia may attempt to attack a NATO country. There were calculations that the Russians might conduct a local war in about 6 months. Most likely, it will be a Baltic country. It could be Estonia, particularly Narva. Little green men could enter there. In this way, Russia will test NATO's Article 5 response, Hetman noted. From an economic perspective, the European Union is as powerful as China or the United States. When comparing gross domestic product, the EU, the US, and China produce roughly the same amount of goods and services. The EU's capabilities are just as significant as those of the US, as emphasized by the Reserve Major of the National Guard. The war is taking place in Europe, and the greatest danger lies with European countries. There is a need to establish something akin to a European NATO. President Zelenski proposed the creation of a unified EU armed forces, which is not a new idea. Discussions on this topic have been ongoing for several years. The proposal triggered a nervous response from the Poles, who asserted that it would not happen. They understand very well that if a unified armed force is created, Ukraine will take the leading role. However, every country must be responsible for itself, and there needs to be more modesty in the statements, he added.
Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson warned on Wednesday that the outcome of the war in Ukraine will shape generations to come and said the world was at a crossroads. Europe and the world now stand at a crossroads. How the war against Ukraine will end affects and shape security across Europe for generations to come. We take this very, very seriously, Kristersson said. According to Associated Press, he spoke after an extraordinary meeting on the war in Ukraine hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron, which Kristersson attended via video link. The summit is the second this week and has been enlarged to involve more European nations. It aimed to address the ongoing conflict and strengthen global support for Ukraine. He described participating leaders as united on two main points: on peace through strength, in which Ukraine is equipped to negotiate from a position of strength, and, secondly, a peace that's sustainable over time. From my very first conversation with President Zelenski, Ukraine has warned against a sudden ceasefire that would only give Russia the opportunity to regroup and return, either against Ukraine or other countries, Kristersson said. Peace must be sustainable over time, and therefore, Ukraine must be involved in defining the terms of peace.
God afton, beklagar att ni har fått vänta. Gällande Ukraina så står Europa just nu och världen vid ett vägskäl. Hur kriget mot Ukraina kommer att sluta, det påverkar och formar säkerheten i hela Europa för generationer framåt. Vi tar det här på mycket, mycket stort allvar. Tillsammans har nu EU och europeiska NATO-länder visat 3 år av styrka och sammanhållning. Det var mycket bättre och mycket mer än vad de flesta trodde när Ryssland angrep Ukraina. Vi fortsätter nu stötta Ukraina.
Se över inställningen till EU:s gemensamma lån för försvarsutgifter nu. Hur ser du på den frågan?
Några konkreta saker som togs upp och där vi tydligt står enade. Det första är fred genom styrka. Det låter bättre på engelska. Peace through strength. Att det är bara ett Ukraina som rustas för att kunna klara av att vid en stark position förhandla om fred. Det är bara så vi kan trygga freden i vår del av världen. Vi kommer därför fortsätta vår inslagna väg med omfattande stöd till Ukraina. Den andra stora frågan var att freden måste vara hållbar över tid. Ukraina har sedan mitt allra första samtal med Zelenski varnat för en plötslig eldupphör som bara ger Ryssland utrymme att omgruppera och komma tillbaka igen mot Ukraina eller mot andra länder. Freden måste vara hållbar över tid och därför måste Ukraina vara med och definiera villkoren för freden. Inget om Ukraina utan Ukraina, inte heller något om europeiskt ansvar i stort utan europeiskt deltagande. Det är ett ganska långt möte som ni förstår.